flying boats have played a very significant part in Australia's aviation history. The last flying boat service was the Lord Howe Island service operated by Ansett Airlines, and it ceased in 1974. Who knows that someday in the future we will see the return of a modern flying boat. But in the meantime, let's go back to 1974 and the ships that flew.
The flying boat, after the war, was an orphan, and an extremely inconvenient orphan. It threatened the astronomical investment now concentrated in land airports and their increasingly magnificent terminals.
Well, they're comparatively high-cost aircraft. This is one of the principal reasons. The other, of course, is that they're terribly slow.
Well, weather is a big problem. The actual Met reporting service these days, which is one we converted here, that was actually a military Sunderland. And I think the total bill from start to finish would have been somewhere in the region of $250,000. So, as you can see, for an old aircraft, to have to pay that price for it in 1963 sort of highlights some of the problems associated with these things.
One, of course, that you're restricted in your utilisation because there's only one service offering these days, and that is between Sydney and Lord Howe. So we're only achieving at the most 900 hours flying out of two boats. That's 450 each per boat. Well, you compare that with an average land plane's up to 3,500 hours per annum. So that's one of the reasons why it's uneconomical.
She passed the entrance island and opened out into the great lagoon. The wind was steady from the east, offering itself for the takeoff. The moon was drawing the ocean to the time of high water, and the swell was coming in over the reef. I sat and watched the swell as we ran through the pre-flight checks. Then I let her come round and up to the wind. She faced the lagoon for a moment of contemplation. And then I gave her full power. The swell was there, but harmless. She protested a little, but it was only to let me know her mood. The slight backward pressure on the control column restored her equilibrium and suggested a way of escape to the air. She responded with confidence and soon was running light and true upon the surface. A touch of the tail trim, and I broke her away when she was ready.
There's great difficulty in mooring a flying boat at Lord Howe Island due to the very exposed nature of the lagoon, the prevalence of cyclonic winds and gale force winds. In the case of our flying boat mooring there, you have a 7/8 cable attached to the bow of the aircraft, which is attached to the normal mooring buoy. Now, when you get these mountainous seas that pound in over the reef, the aircraft, which is not built solidly like a boat, it's light in construction, it's meant to fly. And a huge swell comes through and the old girl rides up on the swell, and it's then lifted in an attitude of its wings are there for lift, and the swell goes through and you get this tremendous snatch as it goes belting down the swell, and of course you've got 20 tons of aeroplane that are banging on that mooring. Well, I think it happened at around about midnight on Sunday night. We were all pulled out of bed, my crew and I, and we raced down to the beach. And this dreadful sight, when we got there, a poor old Beachcomber with its wing and its float bashed into the side of the beach. The main plane had been badly dented, and of course as the sea came in and the wind howled, the float was bashed under the hull, and the tip, of course, is badly irreparable.
The Sandringham, a civil version of the wartime Sunderland flying boat, made its last flight in 1980. It touched down in the Solent after a remarkable career that began when it was built at Rochester in 1943. It spent most of its time with various airlines in Australia and the South Pacific. It was eventually rescued from the scrapyard in the Caribbean. Plans to keep the Southern Cross in flying condition fell through, and for 2 years she's been parked at HMS Daedalus at the Royal Naval Air Station at Lyon-Solent. But today, after long delays caused by the bad weather, the flying boat set off on its last journey, across the water to Southampton, where it will become a major exhibit in the city's new aviation museum, now nearing completion. The move was a combined operation involving the Navy, the Air Force, and from the Army, troops from REME and the Royal Corps of Transport. It wasn't an easy job. The Sandringham weighs 20 tons, and moving it down the slipway required a lot of skill and mechanical horsepower. It took more than 3 hours to put the aircraft aboard the huge floating platform brought in to ferry it to Southampton. Once underway, a gentle 4-hour voyage lay ahead. At Southampton docks, the Sandringham will be stored and renovated, ready to take its place beside the Spitfire and other exhibits in the museum. A fitting end for the symbol of an era in aviation history, overtaken by the Jumbo and the supersonic Concorde.